Hey everyone, this is Karen Waksman, founder of Retail MBA. Today we're going to be talking about handling negotiations with retail chains. So if you have a great product and you're trying to sell to chain stores and you're trying to figure out the right things to say for your negotiations with buyers at chain stores, here's some quick tips and strategies to help you get started today. With that said, let's get started on today's training. Let's talk about negotiations with retail chains. People are always nervous about what happens with the negotiation once you get interest from a retailer. And honestly, there's so much to say, and you can't really generalize because what we do is actually work with individual retailers and individual people. And all of you have your own stories, your own experiences, your own thing that is exciting about your product and not exciting. And sometimes it's very hard to share these topics with you because I need to see your product to really talk about what your angle is going to be, which is why we created all these retail MBA training coaching systems and all that stuff in our world. But what I'll tell you one thing about in regards to negotiations with retail chains is pricing is usually a common one. And that's something I can give you some tips and strategy on. Again, there's other things, so many different ways to handle negotiations, but let's talk about pricing because that'll be something that will be probably the most general thing I can talk about. Retail chains buy products. That's what they do for a living. They are dealing with competitors all over the place. Nonstop competition, people always selling stuff on Amazon that's against what they're trying to do, different stuff they're selling. There's new innovation popping up every single day. They're trying to sell as much as possible. They're buying a bunch of your products, and there's just a lot going on for these retailers. So what they need is to be in a situation with a product that they might purchase in a way that will actually get their customers to buy it. So what they need is for you to figure out a way for them to sell your product at the most reasonable price, even if you're a small guy who can't seem to change your price. Imagine you go to a retail chain and you're saying, here's my price, and they come back and they say to you, this is way too expensive. A negotiation tactic could be, if you buy X number of units, I can get the price to this. And if you buy even more quantities, I can get the price down to this. What that means is you contact your manufacturer in advance and you say, hey, manufacturer, I'd like to get my product sold in volume at chain stores and I need a price break for certain volumes. So how much of a price break will you give me at 5,000 units, 10,000 units, 20,000, and so forth? Get those numbers in advance because that will reduce the price. So the reason you want that is typically, unless they're an evil manufacturer, but typically they're going to work a better deal with you because you can get obviously more sold and they like that. Usually they presume a little guy doesn't have big chain store orders coming, so they give you a hard time more than others. And so that's something that you have to deal with. If you have those numbers ahead of yourself before you talk to a buyer, then when you talk to the buyer, she gawks at your price. There's ways to ensure she never gawks at your price, but let's just say she's having a hard time with your price. You can come back with price discounts based on volume, and you'd be surprised at how great that one strategy can be when you're dealing with a chain store, because ultimately, if you can get her to a good price, she might be able to buy that quantity. Why? Because that's what they do for a living. They buy quantities of products. Now, it does depend on the retail chain. And obviously, every situation is different, and we didn't look at your products. We don't know what other strategies there are that we can say about even pricing. But what we wanted you to know is that is a very simple way of handling a price negotiation, which will ultimately allow the buyer to understand that you mean business. Because if you're like, okay, I can't do that now, but I'll get back to you, you might lose out on that opportunity because the buyer might change jobs. There might be a reason why she's not interested anymore. You want to go as fast as possible. So having those numbers available to you can be a great single strategy for pricing with volume discounts. So anyways, I hope that provided value for you. If you want to learn all of the different negotiation tactics with retail chains, We have a program called Retail MBA. We also have master classes, all explaining the stuff, all listed on retailmba.com. Karen Waksman, Retail MBA. Hope this helped. Thanks so much.